People break down into two groups when they experience something lucky. One group sees it as a sign, while the other sees it as luck. Welcome to Primary Technology, the show about the tech news that matters. This week, Amazon had a big event to release Alexa Plus, their AI voice assistant. We're going to talk about that. Plus, the iPhone 16e reviews dropped at the weirdest embargo time ever. iOS 18.4, the beta released news plus food, plus big changes to visionOS 2.4. ChatGPT deep research is coming to more plans, and more. This episode is exclusively brought to you by you, the members who support us directly, so thank you for that. I'm one of your hosts, Stephen Robles, on a new mic, so let me know how it sounds. Joined by my friend Jason Aten. How's it going, Jason?
Well, I'm very confused because I'm looking through our rundown because I swear I heard you say news plus food. And I'm not sure. I'm like, wait,
that's right.
What are we going to talk about?
News plus food. That's what Apple's Apple's newsroom article. It's literally
so
news plus food. So there you go. I'm using a new mic today. This is they sent this to me. It's a very cool looking microphone. And so listeners, as you ingest this episode, which is a weird way to say it, I don't know why I did that, but let me know how this sounds because I'm curious if I want to
listen, consume, watch. I mean, the people who are listening can just tell you what it sounds like. Those of us who are watching can give you other types of feedback about the vibe you have going on there.
The vibe, yes. Let me know on the vibes. Jason, I again missed the movie quote last week, asking you if you knew what movie it was from. So let's do last week first, where I said all those moments will be lost in time like tears in rain, time to die. That was last week's movie quote. What is that from?
Wasn't it Blade Runner?
That's exactly right. That's okay. Blade Runner. And I did the time to die because we talked about the Humane AI pin last week. I felt like
that's right.
Felt like that was apropos.
Yep.
I don't have as a good of a connection this week, but this week's quote, one group sees it as a sign while others see it as luck. Do you know what that's from?
Only because you repeated it. Because I knew it was an M. Night Shyamalan movie.
That's
but I'm
right.
pretty sure it's Signs.
That's exactly right.
Which, by the way, is the worst M. Night Shyamalan movie.
I'm going to take a hard disagree because I rewatched it.
It may not be the worst one. It is the worst of the original set of them.
Are you counting Lady in the Water in that original set?
No. I'm counting like Unbreakable.
Right.
What's the...
It was The Village. Do you count The Village in that original set?
The Village is better than Signs, I think.
Listen, I'm just going to say this. I have not seen Signs in a long time. I rewatched it with my two older kids. One of them is now traumatized because of the shadowy figure on the roof. But I really enjoyed rewatching that, and I find that to be a good movie.
It would have been 47,000% better had they never shown you.
100%.
That's the thing. That's the thing. The rest of the movie, phenomenal. But then it's like, oh, this was the reveal we did not need.
If they had not shown the spoiler for this 24-year-old movie, but if they had not shown the alien at the end, would have been way better. 100% agree. But it's a very good movie. It's a very good movie.
By the way, the same thing is true of the new Apple TV Plus movie, The Gorge. Which is actually 3 movies, 2 of which are pretty entertaining. Yes. One of which is like, why? Anyway.
Yeah, I'm surprised how many people. I think this is going to have to be our bonus episode. I want to talk about Apple TV Plus stuff because Lewis Toole in the community gave us an Apple TV show ranking of Apple TV Plus original shows, and I have to take some issues with it. So I think that's going to be our bonus episode today.
I think he made up 3 of them, but yeah, anyway.
Yeah, it does sound like that. Listen, so many of you showed out because last week we talked about how we dropped from a 5 to a 4.9 star podcast, and so many of you rushed in to leave wonderful reviews. So we're going to do a lightning round. I'm going to run through everyone who left us 5-star, but still, I have a suspicion, I can't confirm this, I think William Gallagher is creating burner Apple IDs just to leave us 1-star reviews. I'm not sure. I cannot confirm, but we're still a 4.9 show. So if you haven't yet, if you could go, leave us a 5-star rating and review an Apple podcast. But everyone who did that this week, Pineapple667 from the USA, battery percentage on, he thinks the iPhone 16e, it stands for economic. Okay.
Do you think his Apple ID is a Severance reference?
Pineapple 667? That would be. Wait, I thought it was a watermelon.
No, Steven.
Waffle Party? Have you Are you actually caught up? Are you caught up?
No, they bob for pineapples.
Oh yeah, that's right. Okay, anyway. Tim Tom 76 from the USA said we're one of his favorite podcasts. Drummer Mama from USA, we're their favorite. Battery percentage on, phone in dominant pocket. JC from Germany said the other guy is all right too. That's a reference. We know he's been listening for a while because he said the other guy. That's not been around for a minute.
Like that.
That's it. Emma 07CQC from Buenos Aires says Primary Tech is in their top 3 shows. Eugene Fraley from the USA. My oldest piece of technology is an iPhone 2G, which still turns on. Well, that would be an original iPhone, wouldn't it? Unless he meant 3G. But yeah, still turns on. Has the old logos for Facebook, YouTube, and the App Store. Yep. And Toby S98 from the USA. Battery percentage off. I wanted to end with that one.
I have two bones to pick about this list of 5-star reviews. We're saying someone is definitely in the top 3. Like, why aren't we the first? Number one, why aren't we definitely the first?
I will settle for top 3. Top 3 is wonderful.
Fine. So then the other thing is, I started to feel like I always thought that there was like 2 schools of theology when it comes to all of these things. There's Stephenism.
Oh no!
And then there's me, whatever.
The other guyism.
Sure, right. You have Calvinism and Wesleyanism,
yeah,
whatever.
Sure. The other guyism. Yeah.
So like, I felt like all of the things. What I'm learning though is nobody subscribes to either of our schools of theology when it comes to all of these things because they just mix and match. Whichever one they feel like, it's like, yes. I'm battery percentage on, good. Apple volume in the correct direction, good. Phone in the dominant hand pocket? Oh, forget it. You just lost your salvation.
No. We have a very diverse audience. You could do whatever you want, even if it's wrong. That's what I say. No, just kidding.
That's relativism, I think.
Yeah, that's right. That's good. Pluralism. We're iPhone battery percentage pluralists here.
Okay.
You could do whichever you like, although battery percentage off is better. All right, we have to talk about the news, Jason, because Amazon, I just roll right past it.
You should.
Amazon had a big event. They did not stream it, which I felt was very strange. The event was yesterday, Wednesday, and I kept searching for like Amazon live stream, Amazon event live stream. There was no live stream.
There was not.
They did not live stream this event. And then I tried to find some live blogs, which did you ever follow like the live blogs back in the day?
Well, The Verge still does one.
So they do one, and I went to The Verge and I clicked live blog, and I could not find what I was used to. I had not looked at a live blog in years because I watched the live streams of whatever these events are. And I was looking for just like the chat window with like the ongoing chat, and I couldn't find it.
It looks a little different now, but they do basically do that. Okay. But it kind of looks more like, it looks very similar to like their quick posts format. Right. And some of them actually then just like link out to an article that they've written about whatever's happening. Yeah, yes, the older formats felt more like in the moment live reaction. So like the New York Times still does that for things like confirmation hearings where you just see like a stream of people, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Less exciting, but
no, I know. I was trying to think of the example for it, but I agree. But like The Verge still does it. There's some other places that still kind of do it. But honestly, like now if you really want to follow the live blog of something, you have to follow 6 people on Twitter, 3 people on Threads, and then a Mastodon server.
Well, and that's basically what I ended up doing because I was frustrated with the live blog situation. I was like, well, I guess I'll just see what people post on social media. And people did. Yeah. People posted. And basically the news is Amazon has announced Alexa Plus, which is their LLM-powered voice assistant. It is $20 a month if you want to actually just pay for it and you're not subscribed to Amazon Prime. But if you pay for Amazon Prime, it's just included. So if you already pay for it, this is just something that you can access. It is on basically the web, Fire TVs, and a lot of recent Echo shows, and even just Echoes without screens if you wanted to use that. And they basically showed off a bunch of things that it could do. And frankly, it was pretty impressive. There's a little demo video. I'll link to this page on Amazon so you can check it out. But, it can do things like keep track of your events and tasks and all that. But because it also keeps track of your conversations, if you were at home and you were asking it about some hardware part because you were trying to fix the sink, and then you go to the hardware store, you can basically open the Alexa app on your iPhone and ask it, what was it that I was trying to remember? And it will like have that contextual awareness, which is pretty impressive. So it's across all those devices. The demo video, one of the more impressive things I saw, it was like the guy asked, did someone let the dog out? And I imagine if you have your Nest cameras around or Ring cameras, the assistant was able to say, yes, it looks like the dog name went out. And I was like, that blew my mind because I'm like, of course, like you have all that information. Even Apple Home has that information. Like it can recognize people through the cameras. There's facial recognition. It knows when there's motion, supposedly recognizes animals. But to be able to ask your voice assistant, did someone let the dog out? And it just know, it looked very impressive. It also went through this like planning a vacation thing, which is like what the Rabbit R1 promised and it could never do. And Alexa Plus could probably do that, and it looked impressive. Just seeing it from the outside. What did you think when you saw this?
Well, I also tried to find a live stream, and I didn't even try to get an invitation to the event because I assumed there would be a live stream.
Right.
And then I was like, oh, well, that was dumb. Probably did not plan that very well. So I spent a lot of time trying to get caught up on what the heck actually happened, because it did seem like really they only introduced basically one thing. I think there might have been a new product other than Alexa Plus. Is that true? They introduced a website and a new app.
The website, the app, yeah, but all the shows and stuff, it's the same.
Okay, you're probably right. It was very confusing. And so I do think the demos were really convincing. I'm a little apprehensive because what I have read of reviews, all of the people who went to the demo area were not actually allowed to do demos. Only the Amazon people, PR people, were able to like walk them through a demo. So the thing seems like it was still pretty much on the rails. That's not super surprising because I've never been to a tech like product launch like this where you can walk up and pick up an iPhone, but like you're still going to be limited in terms of the things that you can do on these products because it's just not, it hasn't been launched publicly yet. And so that's great. And they know that in that environment, you have people that are just literally going to try to get it to flirt with them. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's the only thing you're going to have someone from the New York Times trying to do. So I thought it was interesting. I think that it is, Amazon, I think you could make the argument for a while was way behind. I mean, Alexa was like, of all of the voice assistants, I think most people generally think that Amazon's is maybe the smartest, but you had to like say the right combination of incantations in order to get it to do the thing you wanted. But if you did that, boom, it would do that, and then it would try to sell you toilet paper and whatever. You just described a scenario where it would remember the part that you needed, and I'm like, yeah, and 4 of them just showed up at your house while you were at the hardware store, right? But that is like the killer feature of this. Amazon has all of these things already built together, and they've built partnerships with, I mean, they're going to be available on Sonos speakers, right? You'll be able to communicate with Alexa Plus on Sonos devices.
Is that?
Yep.
I thought so. Okay.
Yep. And well, maybe not all of them, but it also has integrations with Ticketmaster. Okay, that's good. But Uber, TripAdvisor, OpenTable, all the Priceline, all these different things. And so far, we haven't really seen that happen with your beloved Humane Pin, Rabbit,
the Rabbit,
or for that matter, Apple Intelligence.
Right. And so I think that's the biggest difference. The Rabbit R1 didn't have partnerships except, they were basically using Spotify in a browser on some server somewhere because there wasn't that direct integration. So the Alexa Plus service, which I'm sorry if I'm setting off your voice assistant devices, I'll try to stop saying it. These are actual partnerships, so they actually integrate. So this should, unlike the Rabbit R1, if you want to order some food through your Echo Show, it will actually work, supposedly. But this is powered by, Amazon has said, multiple LLMs. They claim to be LLM agnostic, although a lot of people thought it was more Claude sounding. Apparently, people who use that one, it seems like that's the predominant LLM. But I think the main thing is, if this is as smart as the demos say, I mean, this totally wipes the floor with Apple's voice assistant, because we'll get to some examples in a moment of that. My biggest thing is, for someone like me, like, this is interesting. Like, I'm almost thinking maybe I get an Echo Show to like try this out and see like how smart is this. Like, you can buy the Show 8 for $150, and that will work with the new Alexa Plus. But in my mind, I'm like, the only way this is really useful is if it knows all my stuff. So I can imagine I can log into my calendar so it has my events, probably some emails, because I think it can do some stuff with that. But then like my smart home, can I even connect all the stuff I have to the Amazon smart home stuff? Will it be able to, I don't know. Like, I'm not sure how much integration there can be, because Amazon doesn't have like a phone hardware that you're signing into all this stuff and has access to it. So I'm curious how that would work. I probably need to get one to just see how easy or difficult it is, but it's curious. And I would love to see like, how good is this thing? Even a general knowledge.
Yeah. So I think there's a couple of interesting things happening here. The first one is Amazon has, even though they were probably behind, they have an enormous advantage. They've sold over 500 million Alexa enabled devices, right? And the thing is, like, ChatGPT, great. You can load it on your Mac. You can use it in a browser. You can get the app on your phone, and that's fine. And people are used to typing to it, and people are used to like talking and like to transcribe things, and that's great. But you know what people are super used to doing? Shouting at their Echo from across the room, right? Like it is a thing. People are. I hear my kids every single morning. Alexa, stop, because their alarm goes off. Right? Alexa, set an alarm. Alexa, what's the temperature? People are so used to doing that. This is the ultimate like scenario where this becomes like a mainstream feature is when the thing you're shouting at is actually capable of doing something other than just telling you a sports score, especially because you don't care about any of the sports scores, right? So that's
I went to an NBA game last week. That's going to come up in the bonus episode.
I can't believe it. Anyway, but that's the first thing. The second thing is, and I cannot figure this out, Steven. They're charging $20 a month for this.
If you're not a Prime subscriber.
Do you know how much Prime costs?
Is it like $150 a year?
It's $14.99 a month, and it includes Alexa Plus.
Right.
You can just buy Alexa Plus for $19.99. Steven,
I mean,
listen, we're not mathematicians.
No.
But I promise you Amazon does not want anyone to pay for this. Right?
No, 100%. Yeah.
I don't understand.
No.
You could pay $20 for this thing, or you could just keep paying us the $14 or $15 a month you've been paying for the last 16 years, and we'll just give it to you for free.
That is
what is going on, Steven?
That is an amazing pricing strategy.
I don't get it.
I don't know how they did. That would, well, I was going to make a comparison to Apple's iCloud.
It's not even like they're trying to convince people to pay for Prime because everyone already pays for Prime.
Yeah, it's like Prime Video, which I think we had one person reach out and said, yeah, I pay for Prime Video, but it's only because they're like in another country and Prime shipping isn't available, so it's not worth it. So maybe it's that. Maybe it's internationally, but I don't know.
Will this work internationally? I don't know.
That's a good question. So I don't know. I will say the voice sounds very natural. It sounds, I think, way better than a lot. It sounds kind of like the ChatGPT voice conversation. Like it sounds that natural. It also did things like in the video, it said, Billie Eilish is doing a concert nearby. Do you want me to get tickets for you or something? And it's like, wow, that's pretty crazy. Like if it could just preemptively know, probably because you're playing music through the speaker, it knows the artist you're interested in. Like that's very curious. So I want to know how smart this is. That's cool. And it is amazing seeing if this is capable of all the things Amazon says, how behind Apple's Assistant really is. And I don't know about you, Jason. I use Apple's voice assistant for basically one thing now, which is smart home control. Because anytime I ask it something else, it's getting real rough. It's getting rough. And Gruber actually, he had Paul Kafasis, who is the founder of Audio Hijack, which we're using to record the audio version of the show right now. But he had Paul Kafasis, and they were talking about asking the voice assistant questions about Super Bowl and past Super Bowls and who won certain games. And Apple's assistant was just wildly off most of the time. Like it was just spewing wrong information. And Paul Kafasis pointed out that there was actually a newsroom article years ago from 2018 where Apple specifically stated, now you can ask our voice assistant sports scores and Super Bowl history information. So it's like Apple said to do this, and now it's just giving wrong information. And I will even say from my perspective, there's a weird reason why we do this, but I have to find out how many days it has been since a certain date pretty much daily. It's a thing we do with the kids. It's complicated. So I would ask the voice assistant, how many days has it been since July 14th? I just would ask it that. And up until recently, the voice assistant would just tell me. Like I would ask my iPhone, and it would just say it's been 100-something days. And for some reason, in the last couple months, it refuses to do that anymore, and it literally falls back to ChatGPT. So I will ask my phone that, and then I see the little banner come down, and it says asking ChatGPT, and ChatGPT answers me, gets it right every time. And as Gruber and Paul Kafasis was saying, ChatGPT got all the sports stuff right, even asking it obscure, like what high school football team won their state championship in 19 whatever, and ChatGPT gets it right. And so it's not looking good, Jason. I don't know what to do.
I know. It is an interesting thing that Amazon first said they were going to do this 18 months ago, 2 years ago, something like that, and they were able to pull this thing off. Grok, XAI, it took them 18 months to build a flagship LLM for Grok. And listen, say what you want about XAI, but most of the people who have used it say that it's as good, if not better, than any of the other flagship models. They did that in 18 months. Apple is the most valuable company on the face of the earth. And they made a whole bunch of promises about what they were going to do, and they can't. Like, we got Genmoji. That's it.
Oh, well, and it was supposed. A lot of the rumors were that 18.4 would bring the voice assistant integration improvements, the semantic index, all the things that Apple showed off almost a year ago now at DubDub, and we still have not seen any of those. So we're going to talk about 18.4 in a minute, but yeah, it's pretty wild. So you have Alexas, right, around your house?
Well, we have Echoes. We have 3 Echoes, Echo Dots, the ones that have actually we have 4 of them, the ones that have like a clock on them. Because they're like a perfect little alarm clock. They play a little bit of music. The kids can ask it some questions.
Right.
But we're what did you call it? A polytheistic family. We have Echoes. We have Google stuff.
Polyassistant family.
Yes, we are. Like, the word that first came to mind was polygamy, but that's not. That's
no.
Totally different. Multiple something else.
Apple Podcasts is gonna give us an explicit rating now.
We have Google. We have Google Nest things. We have the Echo things, and we have HomePods.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I think I'm gonna get an Echo Show. I'm gonna try this out. I might break my entire smart home trying to get my devices to work with multiple systems, but I'm gonna do it.
I don't see. That's an interesting point. I don't think Alexa or Amazon is interested at all in anyone switching over. Like, no. Because I mean, you probably are one of the very few households in America that doesn't have at least. I mean, they will send you an Echo for free if you buy Wheaties. They'll just put it in the box, and it's just
I literally have an Echo, but it's like one of the older, just the cylindrical speakers. It's like 7 years old now. I did enjoy playing Jeopardy on it. I will tell you that, but I just haven't had it set up recently. So, anyway, Alexa Plus. We'll see how it is when it comes out. iPhone 16e. We have found out how it is because the weirdest embargo ever for an Apple product, I feel like. I don't know if there's ever been one like this. 9 p.m. Eastern last night, the embargo dropped, and the iPhone 16e reviews are now out. MKBHD, Brian Tong, The Verge, all the reviews came out, which, I mean, if you have MKBHD wearing a fake mustache, you really challenged him to make an interesting video about your product.
A fake mustache on top of a real mustache, That's
true, because he has a mustache. Anyway, and I actually think his intro to his video is very good because he basically pretends to be a customer asking for a phone that's exactly $600 and has these exact features, but not MagSafe and not the other things. Because as he goes on to say, I linked the video in the show notes. You should watch it. But he's pretending to be the customer and be like, I want an iPhone that has a 48 megapixel camera, this and that. And he's like, well, great. That's the iPhone 15 whatever, or even like the 14 Pro. Like, you can find all the different phones that have more features for the same price. And so why would you get the 16e? The only thing, well, even Apple Intelligence, you can still get a 15 Pro likely for $600 renewed. So you just really have to want a very particular set of features that also lack MagSafe and ultra wide. And that's why you would get the 16e, I guess. But
I mean, there are probably some Dynamic Island haters out there who would just prefer a notch.
That would be something. I would love to hear if there's
all 3 of them are thrilled now that there's finally a phone for them. Right? Now, that's probably not the case at all. The only other time I can think of no one listening to this cares about review embargoes, but it is weird that normally this sort of thing happens, like where Apple will say, we're happy to send you something to look at. We would just prefer you not post anything about it until after this time. And that time is usually like in the morning on a given day of the week. Eastern. Something like that. Right.
Yeah.
And so this one was clearly very different. And the only other time I can think of when anything similar to that happened was like when they did I think it was the MacBook Pros, and they showed that event in the evening. If you remember that, they showed that video at like 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
But they had given briefings to everybody earlier in the day, and they're like, all this stuff we're talking about, please don't write about it or publish it until the event goes live, or that kind of thing.
Right.
But even then, once the people had the product reviews, that embargo was like back to normal. And so it is very kind of an interesting thing. And I honestly think they're just like, let's just try something different. Let's just do something different.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, the phone is available to everyone tomorrow, Friday, February 28th. I think I'll actually be getting one, and I'm going to run an experiment to see. Well, I don't want to give it away. I won't give it away. So just anyway, watch my channel because I'm gonna try something interesting with it. I'm curious to try it out. It does look real clean. I like the look of that back, like with the one camera. It looks clean. Not that I would ever want to use it personally, but it looks cool. I'm just saying. I'm just throwing that out there. All right. Some other quick news. Photoshop is officially on iPhone. This is like Photoshop, iPhone app. I saw a couple people on social media, like the developers saying they've been working on it for multiple years. And it is an $8 monthly subscription plan if you want the premium features in the app. But, previously Adobe has a bunch of apps on the iPhone. They have like Adobe Rush, Adobe Spark, I think it is, for different things. But I believe this is it. This is the official Photoshop app on iPhone. That's great.
Yeah.
Cool.
I mean, Adobe is like known for you stick a word after the word Adobe, and there's probably an app on the iPhone that includes that combination, Spark, whatever you just said.
Rush,
I've heard that I have not had a chance to play with it. From what I've heard from people who have, it's really good. That does not surprise me because the Lightroom app on the iPhone is phenomenal. It is so much better than the Photos app, like at almost everything. And so it the only downside is it doesn't allow you to store your things locally if you wanted to. That automatically stores them in the cloud, so you have to pay for cloud storage. But anyway, I think this is really interesting. I'm looking forward to playing with it.
Yeah, it does.
I don't like that $8 monthly subscription if you're already paying for Creative Cloud. Is it included if you pay for Creative Cloud at least?
I imagine so.
The only
all current Photoshop paid plans already include
access
to Photoshop Modes. Yeah, so if you already have a subscription, you're good. They're not going to gouge you that much.
If you're already subscribed to Prime, you don't also have it's not
exactly.
We've switched. Sorry.
Sure. Yeah. Another weird Apple release. The betas for 18.4, Beta 1, came out last Friday, the day after we recorded our episode. Typically, betas come out like on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, not a Friday afternoon. But we got the 18.4, which there's not a ton of big features. I did a whole video talking about, the big features you might see. There's like ambient music, control center things, and all that. But the biggest, and this I said it in the intro, news plus food. Apple introduces news plus food, and this I think is telling in regards to what it might mean for Apple's future products. And so in 18.4, if you're an Apple News Plus subscriber, there's going to be a new food section in the app that basically contains like recipes and stuff. And it's actually very nicely designed. You have like the ingredient list, you have the steps, you can save recipes to your recipe catalog. I'll put a link to my video because I show you kind of like the whole deal. But then you can share recipes, of course. But one of the cool things is you can actually go into like this reader mode when you're looking at a recipe, and it'll actually give you like the option to set timers right there in the app. And so you could be following along, and this would be perfect on a screen that's like sitting on your counter or whatever. And so it will create those timers. It actually labels the timers as like step 1, step 2, or whatever. And so you could follow along in this reader mode, set the timers with a tap just right there, jump over to the ingredients and directions. This is like a really nice recipe app that you can curate them, save them, categorize them. And there's even like you can browse by recipes that take under 30 minutes or recipes that are vegan. And so you have all those categories as well on the recipe catalog. Jason, the long-rumored HomePod with a screen type device, this is the thing. This is the use case. This is perfect for that.
That's true because, we don't all have iPhones already.
Or iPads. Listen.
Hold on.
Yeah,
Explain to me this. Apple launches a separate invites app that could have just been part of the calendar app. But this is a part of News Plus?
Yeah, that is
what in the world is this, Stephen?
If you're going to launch a standalone app,
if you had not explained this to me, I would have never come across this ever. No chance that I would ever look at it. Also, you know what this would be a fantastic app for? The Vision Pro. Like, why?
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, but the UI on that timer thing is like the most janky looking thing. It looks it looks like something my 13-year-old made in Scratch. Like that's what it looks like.
It's a little rough. I mean, the highlight, but it's beta. It's beta. Well, it could change by the public release.
I just don't understand. Why is this a part of News Plus, Stephen? If you can't explain that to me, then...
I can explain it with one word, Jason. Subscriptions.
Is this a subscription feature?
You can only access it if you're subscribed to News Plus. So, I guess they could have released an app, but then to release an app, how would you put that behind a subscription? Apple doesn't like doing that. They want their apps to be free to download at least. So I think they made it so News Plus would be a more enticing service for that services revenue. You know what I'm saying? I feel like that makes total sense.
I believe that you believe that, and I'm sure Tim Cook does too. But also, just the last thing I'm going to say about this is,
sure.
Is anyone paying for News Plus that's not getting it as part of an Apple One bundle?
I think very, very few. Listeners, viewers, if you pay for Apple News Plus and nothing else, no iCloud, no nothing. Well, I guess if you pay for it, but you just silo it, which I think Quinn Nelson from Snazzy Labs, he did an experiment which, like the services he only uses, which was like Apple TV Plus, News Plus, and iCloud. If you only pay for those, it's still cheaper than a bundle. If you have to get like higher. Anyway, if you pay for News Plus outside of an Apple One subscription bundle, let us know.
And if you pay for News Plus outside of a subscription bundle and you don't have Amazon Prime, I want to meet you personally.
If you're left-handed and you were born on the West Coast, no, I don't know. Yeah, which is random. I don't know. It looks cool, and but it makes sense for that Apple home device. And again, Amazon just had their event where they announced Alexa Plus and their Echo devices. Seems like prime time for Apple to say, like, here's our device, the recipe stuff. Maybe they even throw in a year of News Plus recipes for free if you buy it or something. I could see those deals kind of happen. But have their device, the smart home device, like, let's do it. Let's do it, Apple. Let's finally release this thing. It's time. But anyway, so that's part of it.
Last Apple One thing. I mean, the News Plus food thing is really nice. I would just tell you, you want to know the main reason I subscribe to the top tier of the Apple One bundle.
So you can get more iCloud storage?
No, because it includes the Wall Street Journal in the News Plus, in the News app.
Do other News Plus subscriptions don't include that?
No, but what I'm saying is the Wall Street Journal will cost you $30-some a month if you just subscribe to it.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
That's all I mean. This is actually the best deal that you can get in a subscription because if you care about the Wall Street Journal, because you also get 2 terabytes of iCloud storage with your Wall Street Journal subscription.
Did you upgrade to like the 4 terabyte iCloud storage?
We have 4 terabytes, yes.
That's right. I think you can get up to 8 if
12.
you really want it. You can get up to 12 now.
12.
I'll be right back. Give me 1 second. No, I'm just kidding. I have the 4 terabytes right now. How much are you using of that? Do you know?
I think we're at like 1 point something. Because everybody's backed up to it. And,
yeah, exactly. So with 18.4 also came Vision OS 2.4, which has, I think, arguably more upgrades or updates or features than the iOS version. 2.4 is going to bring Apple Intelligence. This is a terrifying picture. I don't even know how that came up.
Absolutely not what you want in your marketing collateral. Seriously, come on.
Then it froze on that. Anyway, Apple Intelligence will be on Apple Vision Pro come Vision OS 2.4. So you get the writing tools, you get Genmoji, Image Playground. So you get all that if you want to try and use that. I'm curious. Cool. But you also get a couple individual apps, which I'm actually excited to try. One, they're calling the Spatial Gallery. So this is going to be a new app on Vision Pro with Vision OS 2.4, and it's going to be curated content of like immersive video clips, panoramas, spatial photos, and basically it'll be one app where you can go and experience a bunch of stuff. There's like behind the scenes here of like a shrinking deal. I think there was like a Red Bull skydiving or whatever. So basically an app where you can see more immersive content in one place. And of all the things that I think make Vision Pro compelling, it's immersive content. So I think it's great. Have a standalone app where people go and experience all of that for themselves. And in addition to that app, there's actually going to be a standalone Vision Pro app on the iPhone, much like you have an Apple Watch app on your iPhone for managing your watch. This will be an app on your phone where you can like save immersive content or apps and basically send them to your Vision Pro. And I love this because sometimes I'll see an app or that there's some immersive content coming up, and I'm like, I'm not going to charge my Vision Pro and put it on just to download the app right now. But if I could have my phone and just kind of send stuff to it, so then next time I put it on, which is like once every other week or month.
Every day, Steven. Come on.
Still every day? Still every day for you.
Pretty much, yeah.
Pretty much. I bought a stand for the Apple Vision Pro. I'll talk about it when I get it. And I'm gonna put the Apple Vision Pro just on my desk, just sitting there all the time, just ready at a moment's notice. And I'm gonna see if that like encourages me to use it more. We'll see.
You never know when you may need a Vision Pro in a hurry, and hopefully that's never, because putting that thing on and getting it to boot up is like.
I know. Well, that's the thing, the boot up process. But anyway, did you get the Belkin top strap?
Yeah.
For the Vision.
It's fantastic.
That's fantastic. It does make a big difference.
It's life changing.
It is well, I don't know about that, but it is very nice.
I spend a lot of time in the Vision Pro. It's a big deal. Hold on.
true.
I want you to go back up, though, because I just wanted to clarify one thing. I don't think that you said that the spatial gallery includes a bunch of more immersive content. I think that part may not be necessarily true because Apple distinguishes between immersive and spatial stuff. I'm not trying to be nitpicking, but I did want to make sure. Because it's like spatial videos, which are the ones where you're like looking at it and there's like depth. It's kind of like a 3D video as opposed to the immersive, which is like you're in an experience. I just wanted to clarify that part of it. Because did you hear anything about more? Because the immersive stuff is what we really want. Please give us more of that.
It's what we really want. I don't like new Apple immersive titles include, they talk about Ice Dive, The Sharks, The Man. Like I've seen all of these.
Yeah.
I've seen all of these.
None of that's new.
None of that's new. They're releasing immersive content. It feels a little more closer to a weekly cycle, maybe every other week, but it's still not enough because they're also only 7 minutes. Although they did you see that Apple's first feature-length immersive film is coming out?
Oh wait, you mean the submarine wasn't what they considered feature length, like the 12 minutes or 17 minutes?
You didn't see this, Jason? I want you to don't look. I want you to take a wild guess. It has to do with music. What do you think Apple's first full-length feature film is going to be in immersive video on Apple Vision Pro?
It is going to be someone tuning Alicia Keys' piano. And he has to overcome
2
obstacles.
hours.
He has to overcome a lot of life obstacles. And
no. It is going
Bono.
to be.
See, I was in the right genre at least.
Bono. So many people were like, why can Apple not let this thing rest?
And they're going to preload it on everyone's Vision Pro.
You're not going to be able to
whether
delete
you want it or not.
You're not going to be able to delete it. This is going to be
so perfect.
It's set to premiere May 30th. Bono, Stories of Surrender. It's going to be an immersive first feature-length film available in Apple Immersive Video. So,
I wrote a story this morning about Johnny Ive and how Johnny Ive, Steve Jobs told him, don't try to always. Don't ask when you ask yourself the question, what would Steve do? Don't do that. Like, and Tim Cook tells the same story. The day before Steve Jobs died, he said, just do what's right. Don't worry about what I would do.
Right.
Someone wasn't paying attention because we're repeating the same mistakes from years ago. Come on. Anyway, I like Bono. He's cool.
Bono.
That would not have been my first choice for
That's what I'm saying. But anyway, did you see the surfers? The ice surfers or whatever.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. That was. I mean, the immersive videos look great. Like it's wonderful to watch them. They're just 6 minutes long. But anyway, there's one other part that will come in visionOS 2.4, which is the guest user experience is going to be vastly improved. Right now you as the owner of the Vision Pro have to put it on, unlock it, put it into guest mode, hand it to someone, and then they do their training thing. Well, come visionOS 2.4. The guest, you can go straight to the guest putting on Vision Pro, and then you'll be able to manage it from your iPhone to say, put it into guest mode, allow access to these apps. I believe it's even going to save some guest profiles. So if you have someone using it multiple times, it'll be easier to, resume that session. So it'll make it easier to share Vision Pro. I will say having one, that is kind of one of the more fun experiences is like giving it to someone and say like, check this out and watching their mind be blown in some immersive video. But anyway. That's Vision Pro.
Yeah, we still have people. We have people living in my house right now. They're in my family. We don't just have people living in my house, but we have people who live in my house who have still not used the Vision Pro because it is such a pain in the butt to do this guest thing.
Do they want to? Are they like, Dad, why haven't we finally used Vision Pro?
No one has ever asked me that, but they also don't know exactly what they're missing. So they could have.
Did you use it on the plane last weekend? The show's over. That's it. That's it.
I did not.
And not even to embarrass your daughter. I figured at least.
You want to know what the funny thing is? I actually sort of planned to take it, but when my wife and I left the house, we also had to take the dog, suitcases for the kids when they got home from school, and all of our stuff, and I forgot.
Wow. Anyway, moving on. ChatGPT. Apparently, you can now use ChatGPT as your default search engine in Safari through a weird extension that the ChatGPT app now enables. So I actually tried this. You have to update to the latest version of the ChatGPT app on your iPhone or iPad. You have to go to the settings, apps, Safari, extensions, and then on your iPhone or iPad, you can enable this extension. And basically what it does is like hijack the address bar which it's not like you're choosing ChatGPT as your default search engine in the search engine picker, which, you have like Google, DuckDuckGo, and all that. This is actually like when you type into that address bar, it redirects from the Google search to ChatGPT search, and then opens ChatGPT in a browser with your search query, and it just goes that way. It is super janky. I immediately stopped. I turned it off because I couldn't even like get to like normal websites where I would muscle memory, like type the first few letters of domain and hit go, because I knew the Safari autofill would get it because I just go to those websites all the time. And this was like hijacking that process and was trying to do like ChatGPT searches with my 3 letters or whatever. So I turned it off. But interesting that this is like a little closer to if you want a ChatGPT as your default search engine, which we're going to talk about the deep research part in our personal tech too, because you have that. You've been using that more. It's close. It's close to be able to using it as your search engine. A little easier.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of what it does in Chrome, right? It just, they released it, but this is on your iPhone, and I don't know that extensions for Safari are meant to exist on the iPhone, just to be honest.
Some of them work okay. That'll be my, that's my glowing review. Let's see. Some
of them don't brick your iPhone.
Let's play this game, Jason. Let's go to settings together on your iPhone.
Okay.
We're going to go to app because Safari is no longer in that main settings pane. You have to go to the apps down at the bottom.
Pane is right. Yep. Okay.
We go to Safari, and then we go to extensions. And let's see, what extensions do we have installed and on for Safari? I will say I have, so Noir, I have that extension, although I don't use it as much on my iPhone. I use Noir on the Vision Pro if I ever go into Safari, because if you ever have a stark white web page load in Vision Pro and you weren't expecting it, you will be blinded. But Noir is good for forcing dark mode. I have Achu HTML, which is an extension that allows you to basically see the source code of a website from just by tapping the extension, which is pretty useful. I have Magic Lasso, which is an ad blocker, content blocker. I have Overpicture, which lets you put picture-in-picture mode on videos like on other websites, just, kind of forces that. And Mapper. Mapper is an extension where if you search and there's a business or direction link that by default goes to Google Maps, the Mapper extension forces it to Apple Maps. And so you can tap any directions, like if you do a Google search for a business and normally you would tap directions and it defaults to Google Maps, Mapper will force it to go to Apple Maps. And so I find that to be useful sometimes. How about you?
I have good links and 1Password. That's it.
All right.
I don't use Safari extensions. That's not. But I want to. You did make.
Yes.
Because you made me open up the settings app. I do want to.
Yes.
This is the next thing I want people to tell us.
Do
you have apps on your iPhone just automatically update whenever they feel like they should, or do you go into the App Store, see what apps want to update, and then update them manually, essentially?
Right.
Because I subscribe to the Gruber method of let them accumulate, and then every week you kind of go in and you look to see what wants to be updated, and if you haven't used that app in like 6 months, not only do you not update it, you just delete the app. I probably delete 3 apps a week.
Okay. I do not do that. Maybe I should. I have mine auto update, which it auto updates a lot of the time. Sometimes
I don't ever want it to do that. I never want to be surprised when I turn on my phone and I'm like try to tap on something and say, hang on, I'm trying to download.
I mean, usually it happens at night while your phone is charging. It's not usually I will say though, sometimes there's an update and it won't do it you kind of have to like go to the App Store, go to the app, expand it, and then update. But anyway, no, I have it auto update the apps. But let us know. Leave us your 5-star rating and review in Apple Podcasts. Tell us, auto update apps or nah?
Or manual.
That's what
or nah.
Or nah.
Just put nah.
That's it. All right. Apple and the UK. We have to talk about this. We covered it last week where the UK was trying to secretly force Apple, and I say secretly because it was leaked through various backdoor means, but ironically, I said backdoor. The UK wanted Apple to create a backdoor to iCloud data that is encrypted. So advanced data protection on your phone, they basically want a backdoor to get around that. And not only for the UK, but the UK was saying they want it for worldwide because not just UK users, but everywhere. So we talked last week, and then a bunch of news came out after it. I think you predicted this. I think you said this, that Apple would just pull advanced data protection from the UK, and that's exactly what they did. So advanced data protection, you cannot toggle it on if you're in the UK anymore. Didn't you say that?
Basically, although and we'll talk about this, I'm not sure that that's going to be the final outcome of this. So
right, likely not the final outcome. There's also an Apple newsroom article where Apple goes on to say Apple can no longer offer advanced data protection in the United Kingdom to new users, and I think it means that if you already had it enabled, it's not like Apple can turn it off for you.
Well, that would literally be the back door. Think about that. Like, they literally can't turn it off for you because like that's literally what they were asking them to be able to do, is for Apple to go in and decrypt all this stuff. But if Apple doesn't have a key, they can't disable it. However, I'm sure that what they are going to do is to say none of your information will sync to iCloud anymore if you don't turn this feature off. Like, you're going to lose access to all of those services if you don't turn it off. And in fact, I think it says right there, UK users will be given the period of time to disable the features to keep using their iCloud account. So we're just going to they're going to force you, but Apple literally can't turn it off because that would be what the UK is asking. Like, that's actually what they're asking for.
Right, because it would be decrypting.
Imagine like if they're like, so we're not going to build a back door, but what we will do is turn this feature off for all of you. And the UK would be like, literally, that's what we wanted you to do.
They'd be like, cool.
Come on.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead, do that. So that was Apple's official statement. I'll put a link to that newsroom article. So stuff's happening behind the scenes, so much so that 9to5Mac actually saw a letter from the Trump's director of national intelligence, which is Tulsi Gabbard. She wrote a letter responding to Senator Ron Wyden of Oregon and Representative Andy Biggs of Arizona, talking about this situation. And in this letter, Tulsi Gabbard is again saying, I'm aware of the press. I'm reading from quoted 9to5Mac quoting the letter. I'm aware of the press reporting that the UK Home Secretary served Apple with a secret order directing the company to create a backdoor capability in its iCloud encryption to facilitate UK government access to any Apple iCloud users' uploaded data. Later in the letter, and quoted in the 9to5Mac article, which I'll link in our show notes, basically says, Tulsi Gabbard, my lawyers are working to provide a legal opinion on the implications of the reported UK demands. Upon initial review of the US and UK bilateral Cloud Act agreement, the United Kingdom may not issue demands for data of US citizens, nationals, or lawful permanent residents, nor is it authorized to demand the data of persons located inside the United States. The same is true for the U.S. Any information sharing between any government and private companies must be done in a manner that respects and protects the U.S. law. So Tulsi Gabbard and the Trump administration going after the UK, saying like, no, you can't do this. And maybe apropos, timely, whatever you want to say, the Prime Minister of the UK, his name is Keir, what is his name? Keir Starmer. Will actually is set to visit the White House today as we record. That's the UK Prime Minister. Likely this will be on the agenda. So it's actually, as Gruber says in his article, which I'll include in the show notes as well, it's kind of nice to see the U.S. stepping in to one of these matters. Unlike kind of what they did with the EU and the Digital Markets Act, the U.S. is stepping in and saying like, maybe let's not, you can't do this. So
yeah, I mean, it's interesting because if the not specifically speaking about the current director of national intelligence, but I think that there was reporting that the Biden administration was aware that this was happening and did zero about it. It was and so it was not until it actually became public that anybody did anything. And one of the things to think about is there's this coalition of major powers called the Five Eyes, and they all share data. So the UK, the US, Australia is a part of it, maybe Canada. I'm not sure who the other players are. But the point is, if the UK can do this, essentially the US can also access that information. And so there's a little bit of we would never do this, but we would benefit if somebody else did it kind of a thing. And so it is not entirely surprising to me that the previous administration, regardless of politics, didn't make a huge stink about this. when it wasn't made public, because there would be a benefit to U.S. lawmakers if Apple had been forced to actually do this. And so it's only really become a thing now that it's public. Now, we'll give people the benefit of the doubt that in the current administration, let's just pretend for a minute like they really do think this is terrible and they think that Apple should definitely not back down and they're going to have their back. In that case, I think you're right. Like, that's good. That's one of the things we need the U.S. government to do, is to have the back of U.S. companies when those U.S. companies are standing up for principles, right? Like
and privacy and data.
Yeah, exactly. And so I especially think we should stand up for U.S. companies when they're like, no, y'all can't get U.S. citizens' information just because you ask. Like, it doesn't matter how nice. We're just not going to do that. You're not the U.S. government. Like, Apple will follow the laws of the countries that it operates in. It has to. Like, it has to follow laws. It gets very complicated when those laws are contradictory, which is what happened in this case, right? The U.S. says you can't do this, and the U.K. is like, no, you have to do it. I'm not sure that we've reached the end. You know, one of the surprising things is how little outcry there was from people in the U.K. when they found out that their government wanted to do this. Right. And I think Apple was counting on a lot more outcry, and the fact that there wasn't kind of makes me feel like that would encourage the UK government, because technically what Apple did is not what the UK requires. They just turned off advanced data protection, but that is not what the UK is asking for. The UK is asking for the ability to access information of anyone in the world just because they ask for it, and that is super not what Apple did.
That is not what Apple did.
So I would not be surprised if there's more to this, where the UK is like, no, like this is essential. We're going to ask for it. And if that happens, I think things get really interesting. Like, people stop working in the UK for Apple.
That'd be wild. Well, we're going to see what happens. You said the Five Eyes. I've never heard of this before. Apparently it is the thing. The Five Eyes, like eyeballs. Five Eyes Intelligence Oversight and Review Council. It is Australia, Canada, New Zealand, the United Kingdom, and the United States.
I got 4 of the 5. That's pretty.
Yeah, 4 out of 5. That's pretty
Sorry,
good.
New Zealand.
So, I had never heard of that. Five Eyes. Okay. Well, we're going to keep following up.
Have you not watched Slow Horses?
We're going to get into this in the bonus episode, Jason.
I'm just trying to pull the thread all the way through.
You get the threads throughout the episode. That was very good. I've not, basically. But anyway, except for the first episode. Anyway, a couple of the quick stories. But yeah, before we get to personal tech in the bonus episode, Apple's going to spend $500 billion in the U.S. over the next 4 years building teams and facilities to expand their operations in Michigan, Texas, California, Arizona, Nevada, Iowa, Oregon, North Carolina, and Washington. It includes a new factory in Texas, doubling the U.S. Advanced Manufacturing Fund. So basically, Apple's going to spend a bunch of money here in the U.S. building facilities and hiring teams to do more hardware stuff in the United States. I think this picture is amazing because it's a guy wearing AirPods Max working on the line in this Apple factory. I want to know if that's the Lightning or USB-C version. That's what I want to know. That's what I can't tell by the color in this picture.
I can't even tell if that's supposed to be white and it's just dingy, or if those are the mint green ones.
I think it's the mint green ones. I will say what was kind of interesting about this is Trump in some video from the Oval Office or something basically like said this before Apple announced it. And he was like, yeah, Tim Cook, they're going to spend billions of dollars on whatever. And then Apple basically had to like put this newsroom article out, I think quickly, because it was like, okay, well, Trump just announced this for us. So but anyway.
Yeah, well, and just to also be clear, Apple had already committed something like $430 billion over the next period of time. So I just want to be clear, this is not $500 new billion dollars, $500 billion new dollars.
Right,
this is just they're like expanding some of what they had already committed to do. And I think the point, like the real thing that they did is they said we're going to hire 20,000 employees over the next few years.
Right.
I don't know if there's any specific significance to the whole 4 years thing. I mean, like, seems like that's a period of time to which the government of the United States might care a lot about. Exactly. And so do all these things you can now. I'm especially interested about what they're going to do some stuff in Detroit. So I'm looking forward to hopefully trying to go see what they're doing in Detroit. They're going to build sort of like an innovation campus type thing. So
Apple, build one of your Battersea Station type things in Miami. Do something in Florida so I can, go to some events.
So that you have a reason to go to places other than just the biophilic zone on top of the Apple Store. Did I even get the word right?
Yeah, biophilic.
Okay.
Biolific. It's either biolithic or biophilic. I think it's biophilic. Anyway, I wanted to shout out Macrumors. We use their articles a lot, mention them a lot. They turned 25 years old. They were coincidentally founded on February 24th, which is also Steve Jobs' birthday, but in 2000, the year 2000. So they are 25 years old.
Yeah, and that's the same time they last updated the design of the homepage. No, I'm just kidding. I like Macrumors a lot.
That is underhanded.
I love Macrumors, but it is too easy of a joke because like it does. Their website does still look 25 years old. Just to be honest.
Fair enough. Not her. I'm sure there's plenty of people visiting it. I will say one of the coolest features of the Macrumors website, design or not, their buyer's guide, which tells you how many days it's been since.
I do like that. That is pretty good.
Although they're saying the iPhone 16, they must do it since the announcement, not the release, because they're saying days since last release. The iPhone 16e is 6 days, although it's only publicly available on the tomorrow, so it should be -1 days. But I'll let it slide. Okay. Let's find the oldest. So what they do is on this page, which I'll link to it in the show notes, you can basically go to any device in Apple's lineup, and they'll tell you like, should you buy it? So like the base model iPad, they have a caution warning because it might be approaching the end of cycle, because the last time it was updated was 863 days ago, which I think.
Check out the Pro Display XDR.
All right, so let's go up.
Which is clearly the oldest thing in the lineup, right?
This is.
There can't be anything older.
Let's see. The 15.
Would it be under Watch Other?
Yeah, I was just trying to see. Hold on. The AirPods, the HomePod Mini, almost 1,600 days old.
Yeah, but
that's the last time that was. I don't know if they have. I don't think
they don't even have it on there.
They don't even have it. They have the Macs. They don't have the displays on here. Macrumors. If anybody from Macrumors is listening, where's the displays? You got to put the displays on here. That's the oldest stuff. Anyway, it says Apple TV.
I bet ChatGPT can tell me.
Okay, yeah, you asked ChatGPT. Let's find out. The Apple TV says don't buy because that's 863 days old. Okay. Anyway, this is a fun page to play around with. You can see how long Apple's been. Apple Vision Pro. Why does it say just updated? It says days since last release, 405 days ago. I don't know. I take issue with that Vision Pro rating as well. But
all right, 1,906 days since the Pro Display XDR came out.
Is that was more than the HomePod Mini, right? HomePod Mini was 1,600.
It was more.
It was more. Anyway, it's a fun little game here. But anyway, congrats, Macrumors. 25 years. All right, let's talk about personal tech. Maybe tell me about this Tesla charging station real quick, and then we can talk about ChatGPT.
Oh yeah,
research.
So we were in Texas
Yes.
for soccer in the cold. It was very cold, and we were in Texas. Those two things are seemingly unrelated, but anyway,
Yes.
we drove up to Waco. We were in Austin. We drove up to Waco because my wife really wanted to see the silos. Are you familiar with the silos?
Oh.
You know,
Like the Apple TV Plus show?
No. The Fixer Upper show from HGTV.
Oh,
Chip
yes,
and Joanna
yes.
Gaines have this whole thing in Waco. Yeah, she wanted to
Yes,
see it.
yes.
So we drove up there. On the way home, we had to stop. Well, actually, we were really excited to see the silos, and then we were just as excited to go to a Buckee's because we'd never been to one before. So we stopped, got gas. Anyway, you go in, it's bizarre. But
nice bathrooms, though. That's the selling feature.
They do, yes. Bathrooms that mom would love is, I think, their tagline.
They're the tagline. Did you get any like food items? Because
we did not buy anything.
The first time you walk, I've been to like 2 Buckee's now in the recent years. It was my first time a couple years ago. Walking into a Buckee's is one of the most overwhelming experiences. Always 1,000 people.
It
Always
was bigger than a Walmart, and it had more stuff in it than a Hobby Lobby. It was just completely insane. It was
insane.
Yes, and it had probably I don't know. This is probably not true, but it seemed to have at least 200 gas stalls. It was like 2 towers, like
yeah.
It was like insane. But we noticed that wrapped all the way around the edge of this parking lot were Supercharger stalls. There are 68 of them. It's by far the largest Supercharger I've ever seen. Most of them, I believe, are version 3 Supercharger stalls, which are like the max of 250 kilowatts. I think that's
right.
the case. Or 150, I don't know. It doesn't matter. But then you get to the end, and they have a bunch of version 4s, which I've never charged on. Those are still version 3. Like, it's still going. We're like, we weren't even driving a Tesla. I mean, we have a Tesla, but we were driving a rental car.
Right.
And it keeps going. It's still going. And if you're listening, this is not all that interesting. But there is just a ton of them. And then there's the version 4s, which are the ones that charge like 325 kilowatts or something like that, which I would never use because my car doesn't charge that fast. And then there were still, even after that, which was not on this video, a bunch of like Mercedes charge point chargers or whatever that are like CCS or something like that. It was amazing. Like, I was like, wow. Like, this place is like, and now they do have to keep all of the supercharger stalls far away from the gasoline, right? Because
that is true.
Yeah.
right.
Anyway.
It says this is like the website for that. It says 68 superchargers up to 325 kilowatts.
Yeah, so those are those version 4s. It was pretty amazing. So that was exciting. I don't know. Most of our listeners probably don't care, but it was pretty cool. Like, if you're a person, I've been to a lot of superchargers, right? Because we drive a Tesla, and it is kind of fun to see. And a lot of times superchargers are tucked away, and like, actually Tesla does a pretty good job, but they're just, you know, you might find one at a grocery store, you might find one at a whatever, but like this, like, it was Buckee's. You could spend all day there if you had to.
You could. Your breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I think all the superchargers I've ever done here in Florida, they've been at Wawa gas stations. Okay. That's where all the superchargers are. They're at all the Wawas.
And up here, they're at Meijer, which is a grocery store chain up here. Yeah. So like, they have a lot of them. So, which is nice because even if there aren't restaurants around, you can just walk into the Meijer. So right, there you go. Oh, and there's one also by Mellow Mushroom. It's a restaurant. I don't know if you've ever heard of that. That sounds like a legalized drug facility.
No,
like
it's a pizza place.
Okay.
It's a pizza place, Mellow Mushroom. But anyway, the last news and then / personal tech is that Deep Research, which was previously exclusive to the Pro ChatGPT plans, which was $200 a month, OpenAI announced it's going to be available on the Plus plans as well. You get 10 deep research queries per month on the Plus plan. If you were on the Pro, $200 a month, then they're raising the monthly limit to 120 deep research queries per month. But you've been using the deep research?
Yeah. So the day before they announced this, I upgraded to the $200 subscription.
Really?
I was going to just do it for a month to try this out. Like, I'm not going to keep paying $200 a month. And then the next day they made it available on the Plus. I'm like, are you kidding me? And since I subscribed up through the app, and there's no way to get a refund. There's just I'm out.
Oh yeah, you can't. Yeah, just pay.
But I will tell you, if you have the ChatGPT Plus, which is the $20 a month plan, I highly recommend you not use this because you will instantly start paying $200 a month. Like, it is that good.
It's that good?
You will want to use it a 1,000,000% of the time. This week has been kind of chaotic because of the Alexa stuff. Also, NVIDIA had earnings this week. There were several other things that happened. And so I mentioned earlier that the Alexa event was not streamed. Okay?
Right.
So catching up on all of the different things is kind of crazy. So I just asked ChatGPT's deep research, and I said, research what Amazon announced at its Alexa event today. And this was probably 45 minutes after like the news coverage stopped, right? Like, it was pretty recent. Explain the product, services, and features of each that were announced, then find analysis from respective news sites, summarize the reporting, create a comprehensive briefing so that I can do the research. And it gave me like 3,500 words of everything that was announced, all of the information. In each paragraph of information has links to all of those sites, like just constant sources of stuff. So I knew exactly where to go to find all of the best information. I will say ChatGPT's sources that it prefers are a tiny bit questionable.
Really?
Compared to Gemini's deep research, which is like you get the results from all the sites that you expect to get. I got some results from places like netdigs.com. I don't know what that is.
What in the world?
But then there's but usually what I found those sources are like, they are kind of like the equivalent of how in the Apple ecosystem, there's like 5 websites that are entirely just based on reporting what Mark Gurman reports in Bloomberg. So all of these articles just linked to like Engadget or The Verge or whatever. So I was able to easily find the information. That's kind of weird. It should just link to those, but the information, super solid. I did the same thing last night because NVIDIA announced its earnings, and I wanted to think about writing something, but I was headed to soccer practice, didn't have time to read a bunch of stuff, and I just said, give me a comprehensive report on NVIDIA's earnings. And I said, it asked me like, what are some sources that you want to refer to, which I wish the other one had done that. But I'm like, CNBC, Bloomberg, New York Times, Wall Street Journal. And it did. It gave me a full summary. Wow. And in this case, I didn't end up writing the article, But what I did do is go through this and compare it to, like, I just went to CNBC's website and I'm like, does it all match? And it did. And it was great. And it's, to me, for someone like me who my livelihood is I have to read things and learn things fast and then I have to write about them. Right. This is like having a research assistant.
Okay, that's wild. So have you tried telling it what sources to prefer in your prompt? And will it...
Yes.
Do it now.
Yeah, so in the Alexa one, I did tell it, like, look for these places. And so it kind of did a roundabout way. I think what it was doing is it's like, I see that this article linked to that. Actually, like, Tech Meme came up a bunch of times. But that's because Tech Meme had the articles.
Aggregates.
I'm fine with Tech Meme being one of the sources that it responds to. Sure. Some of these other ones, I'm like, you should have just given me the thing it's linking to. That was kind of weird. Especially because Vox Media has a deal with ChatGPT. Like, just... Send me to the sites. Like,
I wonder, I might try it out. I wonder if you could say, like, only use these websites as sources. And then you can list, like, TechCrunch, Wall Street Journal, Washington Post, or whatever. Curious.
Yeah.
If you could do that. But that's interesting. I'm going to have to try it. I will say, man, I'm looking at the ChatGPT Mac app now. It is becoming an impressive array of options you have when you start talking to ChatGPT, because you have... You upload a file, image, search the web. You also have ChatGPT search. You have the deep research. There's something here that I was not aware of, that there's like a works with section, and there's like Notion is there, and apparently like it'll work with Mac apps. I'm not sure what. I guess you can like pop up ChatGPT within apps like Xcode. That's part of that. This is pretty wild.
Yeah, it is pretty cool, and it's also. I think, I mean it sincerely, that if you use this a bunch, you're going to seriously be thinking, it might actually be worth. Because you would go, if you use it, like 10 is just not enough.
Really?
It's enough to play with it. No, yeah, I'm going to do this every day.
How long, because it says it might take like up to 30 minutes to generate it. How long has been your experience of?
I would say that the NVIDIA one, it probably took 8 to 10 minutes. The Alexa one came back and asked me a couple different questions, and I think that was because it was so recent and it wanted to know like which event are we talking about. So I had to give us a couple follow-up questions, which I appreciate that it asked me follow-up questions, right? And I could tell it. Actually, NVIDIA did the same thing. It's like which earnings results do you want? And it gave me like 3 suggestions, and I'm like, actually, what I want is the Q4 2005 fiscal year. And it's like, great, and I'll do that. So like it does a good job of that, but they're probably anywhere between 5 and 10 minutes. I don't think any of them took longer, which is about the same as Gemini. Okay. It does give you the ability to see, like it'll show you a progress bar that's working, and you can click details, and it starts to show you like, here's the sites I'm looking at, here's what I'm doing. You can see all of that work. Okay. I do like the interface of the Gemini better, because it actually then gives you the result, whatever the result is, and then it actually just shows you all the links completely, like as a an appendix, or what do they call it? Like a bibliography kind of thing. It just lists them all, and you can just start clicking on them. But the results from ChatGPT, I think, are far superior right now.
Interesting. Now, if you do follow-up questions within a deep research prompt, those don't count against your like limit per month?
Ooh, that's a great question, and I have no idea. I think the research is no, because I think then it's just ChatGPT, right?
It's just ChatGPT referring to itself.
Just 4-0ing whatever you came up with.
Right, 4-0ing.
Is that a verb? Can you say that?
That's it. 4-0ing. That's funny. Okay, that's fascinating. I've yet to try deep research. Now I'm going to try it on something and see. I've actually been building this one shortcut for the last 3 days, trying to get it to work, and I've been like down a rabbit hole of like Python, and so I've been asking it Python things, and I've been sending it the errors, but I'll also have ChatGPT like I'll ask it like, help me build this shortcut, and I would say like 80% of the time, it's really good at doing that. It tells me what actions to use. A lot of times I'm using API things, and so I use the get contents of URLs shortcuts action, and it tells me what to put in like the header categories. Like it does a good job at that. And then there was one time it was like, well, use the something mail action. And so I'm like, I don't think that's an action. And so I'll search, and I'm like, that's not an action. So I'll go back to ChatGPT, and I'll say, that's not an action in shortcuts. What else can I use? And ChatGPT will be like, you're right. That's not a shortcuts action. Right. Instead, you should. And I'm like, ChatGPT, come on. Like,
but I mean, it is amazing. I asked it, make me an Apple script that I can use. And what it does is it opens an audio file, puts it into Whisper transcription, transcribes the audio file, copies the transcript, opens ChatGPT in a browser, pastes it with a prompt. It then closes the browser because I don't want to be interacting with ChatGPT in the browser, and opens the ChatGPT Mac app and then I have the result right in front of me. And I literally said, do this thing for me. Actually, the part with the browser I had to like finesse because what was happening is I wanted it to just open the ChatGPT app on the Mac, and for some reason, maybe it's a sandbox app and it just wouldn't do it. Like I just couldn't figure it out. So I was like, fine, do it in the browser, then close the browser, and then open the Mac app. I'm not doing any steps. It just does it, and all these screens flash in front of me. And it literally said, here you go, copy this and open script editor, paste it, and then you're good to go. And I'm like,
it is wild.
Amazing.
I even think Parker Ortolani, he was saying like he's I think releasing an app, and he's like ChatGPT or like these large language models basically made him a developer, and it's like it is pretty amazing. Before we get to our bonus episode where I want to talk about Apple TV Plus content, I will have my sports ball story here. I'll put it here.
Okay.
I went to a sports ball game real quick.
Do you know which type of sports ball you went to?
Listen, I'm not a total troglodyte or whatever. Like it was my two boys were actually dancing in a halftime show for an NBA Orlando Magic game. So it was really fun. We got to see the game. They danced the halftime show. So I went to the game. I went to the Kia Center in Orlando, which is, it was a newer stadium. I think it was built in the last decade or whatever. But, Jason, I talked to Nate about this in Movies on the Side, so I won't belabor it here. You can listen to that episode. But it hasn't come out yet. So if you're wondering why you haven't seen it yet, it's because I have to edit that episode. But I do not understand how anyone can withstand going to those live sports games more than like once a year. The amount of people that has to like funnel through the tiniest aperture of a small security thing and then leaving a game, like the amount that everyone has to squeeze through there's one escalator in the arena that goes from the second floor down. And so it's just this mass of people like Times Square on New Year's Eve trying to get down one escalator. And I'm like, what's the weight capacity of this escalator? Because there's 1,000 people on it right now. And this seems a little, So sitting there watching the game, I can enjoy that as much as I make fun of sports ball. Like, it's fun watching a live basketball game and making the plays or whatever. Apparently, the Washington Wizards are not a good basketball team right now, as Nate informed me. And so maybe it wasn't that good of a game anyway. But anyway, it was fine. All I will say is, after experiencing that, if somehow Apple can make Apple Vision Pro a real, like, immersive, watch an NBA game courtside from the comfort of your own home, and you don't have to deal with all that craziness trying to get into and out of an arena to watch a game, I totally get how that would be a huge selling feature. And maybe people love it. Maybe people love just being sardined with 1,000 other people on an escalator. But I do imagine there's another segment of people that's like, if I could watch and it feel like I'm sitting courtside, but I am at home, and I can literally get up and go to the bathroom whenever I want, and it's 10 feet away instead of 3 floors away, like that would be compelling. So anyway, I think I see that. Like that would be cool.
Yeah, I think it would be cool. I don't know if it'd be the best way to experience it because there are 3 types of people who go to sporting events like this, Stephen.
Okay.
There are people who go to the sporting events with a group of people all the time. Like, we have friends who have season tickets to Michigan State basketball, and it's the same 6 people that go all the time, right? The game is amazing, but it's like the social thing they do with that group of people, right? Then there are people who are like diehard fans, and they just love the sport so much that they want to be there in person, right? And then the third group are like, kind of, you fit into that category when you went to the game. It's like, no, like I have a reason to come to this particular game. Like we often for Christmas will buy basketball tickets for like my father-in-law. That kind of thing is like, and so it's, or when we've taken our kids at different, we don't take them all because there's 4 of them, so it's expensive. But we've taken different numbers of them at different times to things because for them it's an experience and it's really like great. Which of those people though do you think would be better served by the game on the Vision Pro? Well, I don't think any of them.
So I'm gonna add a 4th group to your diorama there, and say my father-in-law fits into a 4th group where he is an uber sports fan. That's literally every night just watches hours of sports.
Yeah, but that's not one of those groups. I'm talking about the people that were in that room.
Oh no, yeah. Those groups, as you stated, none of them would benefit from Apple Vision Pro. But from the uber sports fans who 99% of the time watch sports from home, but are also super into it, like that is their thing, they would be able to maybe have a cool experience in a headset. And so probably the smallest of all those groups, like the social aspect, totally get the once a year, go for the experience. But for someone who just loves to watch sports, if you can make that watching sports feel a little bit more like being at the sport, I think that could be compelling.
Maybe, but I think for most of those people, because we probably fit into that category, we love to watch like Michigan State basketball.
Sure.
We love to watch the Lions play football, whatever. We like people who just love to watch sports would have watched it on the Humane AI pin with the laser projector. They don't care. Like they just want to watch the game. And honestly, if you're used to, if we did headlines, there you go. Now, if you're used to watching a particular type of sport on your 65 or 75 inch television,
sure,
it's actually disorienting to watch it in person. Because you're like, you don't get the replays in front of you. You can't pause it. You can't do those things. So for you, you're just like, I actually just want my 16:9 format. So I don't know. Like I do think it would be cool. I'm just not sure who the real market for that is, and I don't know how they'd be able to monetize it well enough to make it worthwhile. So
I mean, part of NBA League Pass, if there was like a higher tier for immersive games or whatever, maybe that. Yeah. But listen, sport. If anybody can monetize anything, the sports ball people will be able to monetize it.
They'll figure it out.
They'll figure it out. So, all right, I want to talk about Apple TV Plus original shows and ranking them because Louis Toole had a ranking we'll talk about. So listen, before we go, leave us a 5-star rating and review in Apple Podcasts. You can tell us whether or not you have what was it in the do you have apps auto updating or not on your iPhone?
That's probably not interesting to anybody else, but I'm just curious.
The other guy's curious. You can also leave all the other things, battery percentage, dots on your Mac, all of the kind of stuff, and help us get back to 5 stars. And if you want to support the show, we have a sponsor next week, but then we have some openings later. If you're a developer, we had someone sponsor the show last week who was a developer, the Virtual Boy. That Virtual Boy made the Bento Craft app. So we'd love to hear from you. But also, you can support the show, and then you get access to the bonus episodes and ad-free versions of shows in the future. And so thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. We'll catch you next time.